Acquisitions are something that can offer some good risk-to-reward plays. One that is probably known by most people is Activision Blizzard, which is being acquired by Microsoft. But there are more out there, and there is one that I think offers a really good risk-to-reward at this moment. What I'm speaking of is none other than Tower Semiconductors, ticker TSEM, which is meant to be acquired by Intel Corporation. The USA is engaging in a race and wants to produce more semiconductors domestically. Therefore, they have now set their sights on TSEM. I consider it important that it is Intel specifically making the bid. The USA is the country that has been most involved in the semiconductor sector and is trying to control the market to its advantage. Guess that Nancy Pelosi isn't the only one controlling a market to its advantage. The bid was announced in February 2022. The boards of directors of both companies have already accepted it. The bid is set at $53, which is a 43% increase from the current stock price. If the acquisition does not go through, it offers a 10% decline to reach its value before the bid was announced. Furthermore, according to the terms of the acquisition agreement between Tower Semiconductor and Intel, if the deal does not close for any reason other than a material breach by Tower Semiconductor, Tower Semiconductor will receive a termination fee of $1.5 billion. This amount is equal to 1.5 times the purchase price that Intel agreed to pay for Tower Semiconductor. As of March 31, 2023, SEM reported cash and cash equivalents of $304 million. So, if the deal does not close, they would have a lot of cash and opportunities to use it for developing their business. It should act as a parachute in that case. So, what is currently hindering the deal?
China.
Well, it is actually China's State Administration for Market Regulation that is the antitrust regulator reviewing the acquisition. SAMR has not publicly stated why it is blocking the deal, but there are a few possible reasons. National security concerns. China may be concerned that the acquisition would give Intel too much control over the global chip supply chain. Intel is one of the largest chip makers in the world, and Tower Semiconductor is a leading manufacturer of specialty chips. If Intel were to acquire Tower Semiconductor, it would become even more dominant in the chip market. This could give Intel too much power to control prices and innovation in the chip industry, which could harm China's economic interests. Retaliation for U.S. sanctions. The United States and China have been engaged in a trade war for several years, and China has imposed sanctions on a number of U.S. companies. The acquisition of Tower Semiconductor by Intel could be seen as retaliation for these sanctions. China may be using its antitrust review to block the deal as a way to punish Intel and the United States. Domestic political considerations. The acquisition of Tower Semiconductor by Intel could also be seen as a threat to China's domestic chip industry. China is trying to become more self-sufficient in the chip market, and it may see the acquisition as a way for Intel to gain control of a key part of China's chip supply chain. This could lead to political pressure on SAMR to block the deal. It is still too early to say whether the acquisition of SEM by Intel will be blocked. SAMR has not yet made a final decision, and the parties involved could still reach a compromise. However, the fact that the deal is being reviewed by SAMR is a sign that it faces significant challenges. As those of you who have seen my other videos on semiconductor stocks know, it is kind of a cold war between the US together with Europe against China. In just the latest months, the following sanctions have been made toward China. US. In October 2022, the U.S. Department of Commerce imposed new export controls on China that restrict the sale of semiconductor manufacturing equipment to Chinese companies. These controls are designed to slow China's development of advanced chips. EU. In March 2023, the European Union announced that it would be following the U.S. lead in imposing similar export controls on China. The EU's controls are not as strict as the U.S.'s, but they are still a significant step. Netherlands. In March 2023, the Dutch government announced that it would be restricting the sale of extreme ultraviolet (EUV) lithography machines to China. EUV machines are essential for the production of advanced chips, and this restriction is a major blow to China's semiconductor industry. On June 18, 2023, Antony Blinken visited China to discuss the semiconductor shortage and the importance of cooperation between the two countries to address the issue. Blinken reiterated U.S. concerns about China's efforts to acquire sensitive semiconductor technology, but he also said that the U.S. was willing to work with China on ways to increase production and secure the supply chain. Blinken's visit to China was seen as an attempt to improve relations between the two countries, which have been strained in recent years. However, it is unlikely that the visit will lead to a significant breakthrough on any of the issues that were discussed. The two countries have very different views on a number of key issues, and it is difficult to see how they can bridge these differences. Despite the challenges, Blinken said that he was hopeful that the two countries could find ways to cooperate on issues of mutual interest. He said that the U.S. was committed to a stable and productive relationship with China, and he expressed hope that the two countries could work together to address the challenges facing the world. Sounds good, right? Well, just 5 days later, on June 22, 2023, the United States and the Netherlands announced that they had reached an agreement on new export controls on semiconductors. The agreement is designed to further restrict China's access to advanced semiconductor technology. Under the agreement, the Netherlands will require companies that export certain types of semiconductor manufacturing equipment, ASML, to China to obtain a license from the Dutch government. The license will be granted only if the Dutch government determines that the export does not pose a threat to national security. The agreement is part of a broader effort by the United States and its allies to counter China's growing technological ambitions. The U.S. and its allies are concerned that China is using its market power to acquire sensitive technology and that it is not playing by the rules of the global trading system. The export controls are designed to slow China's technological development and to protect U.S. and allied interests. The conflict is indeed confusing, and one day it seems like both parties want to work for the better, while the other day they just go all out and make it worse. A roller coaster indeed. One more interesting aspect is that Intel announced in June 2023 that it would build a new $25 billion chip factory in Israel. The factory is expected to open in 2027. It will be Intel's largest investment in Israel to date. SEM is an Israeli company and the further investments from Intel in the country could be seen as a way to improve the infrastructure in the country. If you ask someone else they might say it is because they are starting to doubt if the acquisition goes through. So it is hard to make any valid conclusions regarding why they are building a new factory. But it is interesting. It's almost as hard to understand why Cathie Woods is buying shit tons of loads of semiconductor stocks up here. Conclusion. What we can conclude is that SEM is currently priced really low compared to the bid. The company would receive a huge pile of cash if the acquisition does not go through. The company has also delivered good reports so far in 2023 and is a mature company. Risk is, as usual, a factor in investments, and here we have the ongoing semiconductor conflict between the U.S., Europe, and China. No one knows how it will turn out, but what we can know for sure is that it indeed has a huge impact on the success of the acquisition or not. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more.